New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Hello and welcome back to Global Focus today. I am Reverend Dr. Sharri McMurray, your host, and this week's guest, who is returning from a previous visit, is practitioner Sheryl Cattell. But I want to tell you my three interesting things about her because I just love them. The first one, it tickles me because she lived in an ashram in a city in Virginia called Yogaville. Is that cool or what? I lived in Virginia for 5 years and never knew there was a Yogaville, so I'm tickled to hear about that. The second one was that she studied the tarot and used to give readings to herself and to loved ones until she realized that God's always talking to her. She didn't need the cards to hear the words. And the third one, this one makes me so envious. She worked for an American company for 4 years in Brussels, Belgium. Imagine walking the same streets that Agatha Christie used for Hercule Poirot. Wow. Please help me welcome Sheryl Cattell. Thank you so much for saying yes again.
Oh, it's a delight. Dr. Sharri, just spending time with you, I would have just jumped at the chance. So thank you for having me back. I love it.
So tell us about Yogaville, because the name tickles me because it just, you can't imagine somebody in India calling a town Yogaville.
No, definitely it's an American thing.
It's an American thing, but Virginia is not a place where I would have expected it to show up.
No, me either. It's interesting. It actually started in Connecticut. The original ashram was purchased with funds that were provided by Carole King. So the Swami that was there was Swami Satchidananda, and he was actually the person who gave the opening blessing at Woodstock. So that's really the origins. They found that they were spending so much of their energy, time, and money trying to brave the winters in Connecticut that somebody had the great idea. I think it might have been Peter Max, suggested that they move south. So they were able to get a beautiful piece of property right on the St. James River. It's about an hour south of Charlottesville. And they built a traditional Hindu temple, if you can imagine.
There's a lovely one here in Kansas City.
Oh yeah, so it was in the shape of a lotus, which if you look at my my company logo, it is a lotus flower because they believe that, well, no, it is. The lotus is a representation that we can be in the world, meaning the muck and the gook that lotus flowers thrive in, and yet emerge as a perfect, beautiful specimen, not tainted by the yuckiness that it comes through. So they bought this beautiful piece of property, built a lotus flower on the river. So when you see it, it looks like the lotus is emerging from the water. It's just gorgeous, just gorgeous. And then the beautiful thing, I think the thing that attracted me to the teachings, which by the way were not in Yogaville, Swami Satchidananda used to do tours in Europe. So I saw him in Brussels, Belgium, probably 5 or 6 times. I took his Hatha yoga classes from his students. And it got into me that I wanted to become certified as a Hatha Yoga Pranayama instructor.
Mm.
And so I had to go to the source, and really fortunately for me, it was in the United States, because I have been to India since, and a much nicer. We are so lucky, the birth lottery we have won, but it was just a beautiful facility. Now, the thing I loved about the temple the first time I went there is it's a round room, the Lotus, and there are altars for representing all of the world religions. And what happens is the altars have beams of light that go up to the top, and then there's a shaft of light. And the motto or the saying that Swami Satchidananda used to always say is, paths are many, and each religion represented a path. Going to truth is one. So what a divine representation. So
Absolutely gorgeous. I got double-decker God bumps listening. That's just fabulous. Ooh, ooh, ooh. And
yeah.
I love tarot cards. They're fascinating and they're entertaining. And I know people who have 15 sets. I have one that are Celtic and that somebody gave me 25, 30 years ago as a gift, because I'm Scots, Irish, German, Cherokee, and Blackfoot, and Irish stuff tickles me. And I've never learned to use them, but I love the idea of just using something as a focus. I use candles on my prayer altar,
Same
but
thing.
I know a lot of people who they don't study tarot. They just use tarot cards to give them something to look at while they shut up and listen.
That's a perfect
That's the
analogy.
key. The key to meditation, and that's what, to me, that's what tarot is. It's a form of kinetic meditation, is to shut up and listen, because God never shuts up.
Right. It's so the messages are always there. What
Messages
I
are
love
always there, but we don't listen.
what I loved about tarot is the teacher, excuse me, the teacher I had really instilled upon me that tarot wasn't this magic message coming from God. It really was very much like reading, and I've read much of the Bible, the Bhagavad Gita. I've read the Science of Mind by Ernest
Yep.
Holmes, and what I found by the approach he suggested was read the tarot as if it were a book of higher thought. And so I thought, well, what does that mean? Well, so I started doing some research. What is the tarot deck? Where did it come from? And we believe that it's ancient as can be.
Mhm.
There's one story that says that the world and the religious and community leaders got together and had kind of a convention, and they wanted to write down what was the same in every single religion. So that was supposedly the origins of the tarot deck. And so what happened was no one could agree on what language it needed to be in. So, because how many interpretations,
Yeah,
right? The
yeah.
Bible today has been translated and interpreted, and things have been removed and things have been added. So, the beauty of this was, let's use universal images so that no one can argue. Anyone could look at the image and be able to receive the message. And there's just some beautiful messages that have
Wow.
nothing to do with divination or trying to predict the future. It's judgment, the judgment cards. One of my favorites. It shows a family in the dark in a wooden box, representing what happens whenever we make a judgment. We wall ourselves off from the people we're judging. And sometimes we wall people outside of ourselves because we judge ourselves. And so this card shows the more we judge, the more we are approaching death in a way, right? We're in the coffin. We're putting another nail in the coffin. So the beautiful thing is there's Gabriel who's blowing the trumpet, and this beautiful light is available to the family as they start to emerge from judgment and start to embrace and accept. So It's not about divination. It's not about predicting the future. It's about realizing what forces are present in your life at the moment and what can you glean or learn from them to make your life better, to become your higher self. So that really transformed, because what happened, the more I read tarot, the more, one thing I saw, universal messages. For example, when I was in Brussels, Belgium, at the time, it was the late 80s, and a lot of people got the Five of Pentacles, which is conflict around money. I kept seeing it almost in every reading. And guess what happened? There was a lot of scarcity thinking, and they went into a recession. And so I was like, oh, I don't know if I really needed the tarot deck to tell me that. And the same thing happened. I started seeing the same symbology as I went to the grocery store, for goodness sakes. I didn't need the deck anymore. I just needed to sit, focus, and be willing to listen. So that's my story with the tarot, and I'll stick
Oh,
with it.
I love it. Okay, and how did you just happen to end up going from Yogaville, Virginia, to Brussels, Belgium?
Opposite.
The other
I
way.
actually, it was the
Okay,
other
so
way.
tell us this, what was the journey? That's what I should have asked.
Yeah, so the journey, like I said, I was in Brussels, Belgium, offered the chance of a lifetime, probably the highlight of my career. I was working for Dow Corning at the time, and they wanted to do leadership development and offered me an opportunity to work with an international team in Brussels. It was the skincare team. And I said, jumped at it. I was single and young, and I thought this would just be an amazing experience. And it was. What it did was it opened my mind to the things took for granted as an American, to things that just, when I was questioned by my European colleagues, I would say, yeah, I don't know why we do it that way. I just assumed, it's that race consciousness, right?
Mhm.
We get into a thought pattern and we just assume, well, of course. And so this gave me the opportunity to get outside of my box. So like I said, I ran across a lecture that was being given by Swami Satchidananda. I started doing yoga, and I decided after 4 years, and also the government was saying you need to leave. That's what happens with the expats is 4 or 5 years, they're like, okay, time for you to have trained someone so you can go back home. And so I decided to take the opportunity and the money that I had gotten as hardship pay and retire for a year. And what I did is I traveled and went to the places that I always said I wanted to go or wanted to do and never had the time. So I retired at the end of my assignment in Brussels, and I went to Hawaii. I spent probably about 6 months in Hawaii studying with a shaman and just learning all about nature and getting in tune with the earth and amazing things. I spent a month in Yogaville, and that's where I became certified. And I spent a month in Findhorn, and
Findhorn? You
the,
actually physically went to Findhorn?
and
Oh,
met Eileen Caddy.
absolutely
I
amazing.
met the woman who was the founder of
A woman
Findhorn.
in the chair?
The woman in
You
the
got to
chair.
work.
Yes, I met her. So one of the things you do is you volunteer, and I got to, I was, what do you call it, grafting geraniums. And the best and most beautiful, it doesn't surprise me, geraniums were in back of Eileen Caddy's house, apartment, whatever. So I'm out there, and she comes out, and we just had this amazing connection. And of course, I happened to have her daily meditations book in my backpack, and she signed it for me. So, this magical, magical moment with this amazing spiritual leader. So that was my journey. Yeah.
You didn't
And so,
mention that. That would have been a good thing nobody knows about.
yeah,
Wow.
Findhorn is magical. The fairies, I truly believe, Now I live close to Walt Disney World, and there's a different kind of fairies, but I truly felt the presence of fairies in Findhorn, and that's what they're
Oh,
famous for,
yeah,
is
I know.
connecting with
I've read
the
all about it. I've just never been there.
Oh, you have to go, Dr. Sherry. It's just amazing. You really need to
Oh,
go. I would
oh,
highly recommend it. So, when my year was up, I decided to go back to Yogaville, mainly because it was on the continent in the States.
right.
And I wasn't sure what I was going to do, but I felt called to go there. And I taught Hatha yoga, pranayama. They have a lot of retreats. Actually, I was on a 10-day silent retreat, fasting, drinking only liquids, and I met Gloria Steinem. I mean, just magical things happened all the time, and I just loved it. I started working at the university. I was an adjunct professor at the UVA McIntyre School of Business, and then that led me into my career as a digital marketing executive. So what a journey, but yeah, great stops.
So, how did you get from that to being a
Mm.
practitioner and life coach? This is you've left some steps out of the journey. Tell us more.
Well, so once I got back in the States, I was offered a job by one of my students. She was in HR for a startup, and they were looking for a VP of marketing for a online gaming company. This was the first online gaming company ever in the world. They were doing online gaming since 1985, where you type into a text only, go turn west and walk, and then you would get this message back: you have encountered Dr. Sherry and a dragon. And this was they were going into the graphic, was it CGI, all the graphical interfaces. For now it was, you were in a World War II airplane in a scenario where you were dogfighting and so on. So that pulled me back into corporate America and the money, of course. And I did that for another probably 20 years, working as the vice president of digital marketing for Bank of America, working at Mary Kay for the vice president of e-commerce, Travelocity, running that. My last 10 years of my career, I was working for a hospitality company, Blue Green Resorts, and COVID happened and hospitality shut down. I don't
Yeah,
know
I
if you
know. I was trying to
remember.
run a retreat center then.
Oh boy, So I was faced with caring at the time for my mother-in-law, and unemployed, trying to figure out what's next. And a friend asked me, "I need you to be my life coach." And I said, "Well, that's really nice, Linda. That's very sweet of you." And she was probably 30 years my younger. And I said, "I'm always here for you. Just when you ever need advice, give me a call." And she says, "No, that's not what a life coach is." And I said, "Well, I think I better look into this." No accident. There was an intensive 33-hour life coach certification class that weekend. And I said, "Hey, I'm listening. I don't need the tarot cards anymore. I hear you." So I went and took the class, and then I went and took the master level class. I did 500 hours of coaching, 10 hours of coach mentoring. Somebody mentored me,
Mhm.
sat for the 3-hour credentialed exam. And then my mentor said to me, "Sheryl, I work for a company called Lyra Health, and you would be so perfect because they're all pretty much high tech companies. They're expanding now, a lot more, but in the beginning, it was all about Silicon Valley. And you name a company there, they were a client. And so they were looking for coaches, life coaches. We're called mental health coaches now, because that's really our focus, is to get people at the peak of their mental abilities to become their highest self. And I went and applied, and they hired me, and I have not looked back. I'm not making six figures like I used to, but my cup runneth over. I am so full of abundance in my life. I love my job.
Well, okay, so I have to ask. You've been juggling a chainsaw, a bowling ball, and a raw egg. When did you have time to write a book?
Oh, that is so apropos. Well, first of all, Dr. Sherry, I decided I'm going to write a book. It'll only take me a few months. I've got this. I know what I'm going to say. I'm going to get it down pat. And I have to tell you that writing that book was like delivering a baby. Not that I've ever had a baby, but it was
I've done both, and you're right.
it is such a process of going deep within and pulling things out of your soul. And yeah, that's it, turning adversity into purpose, which really was a great way to describe my life. That every time I hit a wall, it allowed me to find my purpose on the other side. Anything that happens, and this in the book I say, is really just an opportunity for you to become clearer and clearer about what is your purpose, where are you going, why are you here, and what are you doing. And one of my favorite things, one of the trainings at Lyra, they paid you to train you as a mental health coach. One of the things I love the most, our cohort each had to share something very uh, traumatic from our past, from our life. And then at the end of, processing this as a group, the facilitator said, okay, I want to ask you, 15 of you, anybody in here, would anyone trade that adversity? If you could make it go away, would anyone do that now? To a person, nobody. Every single one of us were on the other side of it to be able to say, it makes me who I am. It allows me the compassion that allows me to connect with people and to do my current job. And so that's what the book is really about, being able to get over that obstacle instead of pounding your head into it, getting over that obstacle to the other side where you realize that's why it had to happen.
Over, under, around, and through. That is just amazing. I love it. Okay, now I always ask people when I invite them to come be on the show to give me any questions that will set them up to talk about what they really want to talk about. And you gave me a question nobody else has ever given me.
Wow.
And when I realized that, I went, no, somebody must have asked me this. Nobody. I checked. Nobody has ever asked me to say to them, what is the meaning of life?
I love that question. I love that question because I get to share this with my clients, and that's my ministry. I believe my ministry is about translating the spiritual principles and the concept of finding your higher self and finding unwavering faith within to clients who are struggling with fear and scarcity and fighting or flighting. So, what I love to do is to get them to a place where they can hear these words. And I tell you, it sometimes takes a while to get there. What I find is most people think that we're on this planet to go to work, complete a project, launch a new product, to open a new store. We think that we're here to have a family, to raise kids, to do the right thing. And so what happens is we kind of lose focus or lose sight of the real reason we're here. And when you're able to come back to that and realize everything else is a stage, the job, the people on the job, your family, your kids, whatever drama is going on, it is a stage created for the purpose or meaning of life. That purpose is to give and receive love. Nothing else.
Nothing else.
Nothing
Love
else.
is all there is, and all there is love.
Just give and receive love. So if you're in a situation where you feel like, oh, I need some love, guess what? You go give it. You'll feel it.
Isn't that the truth? What I say to people when they ask me about this particular thing is that how am I going to give love if I feel like I don't have any love? And I say to them, did you ever water the lawn? Was the hose dry when you were finished?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's beautiful. Be the change you wish to see. In the words of Mahatma Gandhi, That's what I always say. Actually, I just had a client this morning who was saying, I was in this class and my instructor, she didn't acknowledge me. She didn't validate me. She didn't listen to me. She didn't respect me. I said, oh my gosh, what an opportunity. She was a black belt master teacher for you. And you could either get angry, run away, or you could say, thank you. Thank you. Let me give you some love. Let me give you some respect. Let me open up and feel what it is that I want to receive. Get wet. I love it. I love that analogy. Love it.
So what's the hardest thing for most of you? I suspect that you don't have two clients that are the same.
No.
But I suspect also that they all have some things in common.
Yeah.
What's
Yes.
the big one?
Fear. Fear is the number one driver of all negative emotions. We react differently to it. We all have a different coping mechanism that we've probably learned when we were 6 or 7. But the bottom line is, anytime I see a negative emotion and work through it, I can get to the fear that's driving that negative emotion. And so I think the number one thing I work with clients on is overcoming their fear, being able to stay in the present moment. And just saying that, you're like, yeah, mindfulness, all of that crap. But what I do is I try to give them an incentive. Okay. And what I explain to them is fear is coming from a very primitive part of our brain. It's the reptilian brain, right? The reptile brain that's been with us since the
The
beginning.
lizard brain.
The lizard brain. I love it. It's been with us since the beginning of time, and it is not very sophisticated. It is so primitive. What happens when we're operating in fear? That part of our brain, this is the brainstem, and here's the reptilian brain. The prefrontal cortex right here, that's where all the good stuff happens. That's where compassion, empathy, creativity, problem solving, that's where your higher self is, executive functions. When we trigger this part of our brain, it's like turning on a faucet. It's on or off. You don't just like turn it on a little bit. It floods your body with cortisol and adrenaline, which over time, again and again and again, breaks down our immunity. And it's the things that attack and make us unwell. There's a great book, Mind Over Medicine, written by Dr. Lisa Rankin, which goes into the physiology of this. The brain is releasing toxins that could save our life if it were a saber-toothed tiger. But when we release it for every argument we have with our spouse, or we release it with every person who cuts us off in traffic, we are completely flipping our lid. We cannot access the executive functions. And if we keep doing this, we're eventually, right? Think about when you get angry or when you get scared or you want to run away. Your heart is beating, your stomach is gurgling, you don't feel good. And those things turn into coronary heart disease, irritable bowel syndrome, ulcers. The thing that is causing those is right here. Yep. Actually, right here, the lizard brain. And so I incent them. Do you want to live longer? Then come with me on a journey to allow us to finally take that little child and the childish mechanisms we've developed over time to deal with things. Let's peel her fingers off of the steering wheel. Let's put her in the passenger seat and let the higher self drive the situation.
Yep. Well, what you said that I absolutely love is that the only appropriate response to fear is to be in the present, because fear is always based on something that isn't there yet.
Yeah, or happened in the past.
Be there yet.
Something in the past.
Something happened but it's never right where you are. And I love that. That's because fear. I had a friend who used to say, um, I love acronyms, and making up acronyms is just like a
Yeah.
hobby, you know. And he used to say, fear is face everything and run. And I said, no, it's not. It's face
Yeah.
everything and rise. Face
Yeah.
everything and rise.
Yeah. Yeah. Same thing. I told my client this morning, I said, listen, the next time you feel that feeling and somebody says or does something that just pisses you off, this has got anger management issues. I say, just look at them honestly, open your heart and say, thank you. Thank you. I have an opportunity to become a master black belt and not have to take that. That's not mine. I always say that when you meet people who really push your buttons, everyone you meet is fighting a battle you don't know anything about.
Yep.
Be kind. Say thank you. Thank you for allowing me to not lose my peace. Thank you for letting me practice and strengthen my ability to come back to the present moment. To say, no, Judge Judy, I'm not going there. Yeah, that was how I survived my childhood. Judge myself and judge everyone else, but I don't need to go there right now. Thank you. Thank you for letting me get stronger at being in the present moment. It's just like meditation. So I'm teaching a meditation class starting in April, and it's just like meditation. I tell my students, this is not about people tell me I don't know how to meditate. I just can't meditate. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. I'm like, it doesn't work. Well, wait a minute. If you were going to run a marathon and you started training for that marathon and you didn't get a medal each time you trained, would you say it wasn't working? Okay. Let's think about meditation the same way. Meditation is an opportunity to practice controlling where your mind goes. Oh, yes, it's going to go everywhere. An opportunity to flex that muscle. Come back here. Oh, there I go again. Oh, bring it back. It's a building of focus. It is building the muscle for you to decide, I'm going to control my thoughts. I'm going to control where I am in time, present moment. I am not going to let myself get pulled off into negative, immune attacking emotions. And so, what meditation is, it's an opportunity for you to get your muscles strong enough so that when a crisis appears, you're like, yeah, I got this. Going into fear is not going to solve the crisis. Being present, fully present in the here and now is the answer to solving and becoming, living in peace, living in positive emotions, is controlling and focusing the mind where I decide. So, anyway.
I love it. I love it. So I've got 4 questions that I ask all of my guests, and this looks like a good place to start those. So the first question is, this is the one the guests like best. The first question is there anything that you want our viewers to know, to learn, to feel, to see that I haven't asked you about?
Hmm. Anything I would like? Yeah. I touched on it just briefly, but what I see, especially, I was an adjunct instructor. We didn't talk about my past, but my sordid past. But I was an adjunct instructor since probably 1986. That was my side hustle for a long time. And I saw it a lot in the younger generations, the Gen X, Gen Z, millennials, whatever you want to call them. And I see it too in my clients is kind of a throwing the baby out with the bathwater when it comes to spirituality and faith. And what I believe and what I love every single listener to know is that the path to your highest and best self and highest and best experience is really through unwavering faith to not let any situation, any person dictate or determine how you're going to feel or how you're going to proceed, but to turn over to God or Allah or Christ or Buddha or Krishna, doesn't matter what the name is, but to know that there's a power for good in the universe and it's available for us to use. And when I see so many people turning away from spirituality, one of our intake questions is, do you consider yourself spiritual? And if yes, is there a religion you follow? And every time I see someone who says, yes, I believe in a higher power and I believe that I celebrate. I am so excited. They have a big, huge superpower that they can access. And when I see, no, I'm not religious, I'm not spiritual, I think, oh, we have such a journey to go because now they think they have to do it all on their own. And knowing about that connection, that spiritual connection, the fact that we are part of God's essence is such a freeing, powerful way to approach life in a positive, healthy emotion. So that's what.
Oh, I like that. And that's a great lead in for the next question. Um, so, how does what you do as a coach, as a practitioner, as an educator, how you be who you are while you do that, how does all of that work together to generate, create, support, enhance, pick your own verb, conscious evolution?
Mm. Wow. Okay. No lightweight questions here, Dr. Sherry.
This is one I want an answer to, so I ask everybody.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that in everything I do, even this program here today, every single client that I meet with, before I start, I always do a very short remembrance, and I open myself up and I just say, look, I am just a vehicle here. I am showing up on Dr. Sherry's program. I am showing up on Zoom for one of my clients. I am showing up in class for one of my students. And guess what? It's not about me. It has nothing to do with me. And I, every single time, say, God, I am an instrument. I am here. I am an open channel. I need you to be present and to be front and center in whatever I do or say in the next hour or a few hours. And I'll tell you what, it just gives me such a sense of relief. I'm able to like go, oh, whew, it's not me. I don't have to do anything. I just have to be here and listen and be the vehicle, to be the words, to deliver that message to whoever I'm with, whoever I'm in front of. My favorite comment is when a client, it's mostly clients, will say, it's really weird you would say that. That's what do you mean? Well, blah, blah, blah just happened. And what you just said indicates some knowledge about this, which is impossible for you to have. I said, no, it's not weird. It's not me. So spirit obviously wants you to hear this. So spirit is actually here for you to hear this. And I just happened to be the delivery vehicle. It wasn't me. Nothing weird going on here. One of my favorites, I have to share this little vignette. One of my favorites, I do a lot of visioning sessions. So it's an opportunity for the person to shut down the ego, right? To shut down and listen to what am I here for? So it's a great visioning process that was developed by Dr. Reverend Michael Beckwith at the Agape Center. But he was a religious science minister, and that's where he developed it. So we get to use it now. But I was working with a client, and I mean, there's no accidents, right? And in the session, she was saying, I see myself helping others, but I see myself helping others who are in urgent need. I see crisis intervention. And you know what happened? There was one of those alerts. She was in California. I was here in Florida. And you know those alerts that go off on your phone where everybody's phone lights up and it says this is an emergency broadcast? Nationally, it happened at that moment. And she says, yeah, I got it. I got it. Okay. But I mean, those moments are what remind me that God is always present.
Yeah.
And so therefore, that's my job. That's all I do. Show up and be a vessel. And that's the best moments of my life and my practice.
Cool beans. Okay, now the next question sounds very similar, but it's not the same question.
Okay.
How does what you do and how you do it and how you be who you are while you do it, how does all of that encourage, reveal, support, expand, pick your own verb, world peace?
Mm. Wow. Well, I do believe that peace starts with each of us individually. That I think that is right. If everybody in the world were thinking peaceful thoughts, then I think the world would be a more peaceful place. So it does start at home. So peace starts at home. The more of my life that I can spend in peace and harmony, in positive emotions, gives a role model, I think, for the people I come in contact with who can say, wow, I want what she's having, only not the Harry met Sally type, but that
I love
by
it.
I know by our role model, by what we are and who we are when we show up in the world, gives other people the permission to not buy into scarcity or crisis thinking, and then they can then become role models and so on and so forth. So I think the best thing that I can do is be the peace I want to see and to give permission and to give a role model for others to do that. I also think that reaching out to younger people, which is why I love teaching university. I just stopped teaching at Florida Atlantic University and I just started I made a move from South Florida, Boca area, up to Orlando. And I've just started getting involved with the University of Tampa. And I think that's my opportunity to, again, to be a role model to those who are going to be here a little bit longer than me, and that to get them started on the right track of thinking about. And I tell them all, hey, we're not here for you to get a six-figure job and to launch the next TikTok. We're really here to give and receive love. And if that happens to be the next TikTok, it's because we did a really good job at our real purpose, which is giving and receiving love. So
Cool. Okay, here's the last one, and this one is the most fun. You have to close your eyes because you're going to use your imagination. All right, so we are going to be operating under the assumption that everything, every event, every encounter, every relationship, every experience, everything that happens for the next 10 years goes exactly the way you want it to go. Under that scenario, what does Sheryl Cattell RScP look like 10 years from now?
wow. Hmm. Hmm. I think I'm doing more outreach. You know, I may not be happy with the way things have progressed politically, but in my heart, I'm really, really pulling for an epiphany by the religious right or whatever you want to call them, uh, that they are able to learn from decisions they're making that are not necessarily good for all people, and that epiphany can lead to a change of heart, a change in thinking, a change in being. And so I'd like to say 10 years from now, I'm more out there. Here's a good example. I go to church. Every interaction I have with every person, even people I meet in the grocery store, that there's like a magical connection. But I don't get out there, I don't think, enough. Let me give you one example that's actually coming up this week at the Dr. Phillips Center in Orlando. They're having a Martin Luther King gospel music
Mhm.
performance. It's free. Everyone can go. And so there's a group that of us that are going to get together, and we're going to sing the peace song. Let peace begin with me. This is the moment now. It's the song that unity, religious science, you
That's beautiful.
use. Yeah, it's a beautiful song. And so we're going to go and sing that in the lobby before and after the
Oh,
performance.
I love it. That's wonderful.
So I think more of that. I did get involved with the Lake County Democrats group, and we went. We went, and in Florida is completely red, so we're like in the minority. But we went out and we had Kamala Harris signs, and we were waving and hooting and hollering. And what was interesting was we're in the minority, and so the F word, F you and you know, s- words probably don't want to repeat, but a lot of anger came out from people who were not in favor of Kamala Harris. And what was interesting was even when they said those things, I said, thank you, oh, thank you for participating in the democratic process. Thank you for being willing to state your opinion. Thank you. And it really confused them. Like, what's wrong with her? Thank you. Did you hear what I said, me? And it's transforming. I think I want to be in a position to be able to transform more than just one or two people or my 5 clients during the day or this podcast, to be able to expand that possibility, that message. So that's what I think, and to be able to enjoy and celebrate the fruits of transformation of people that I think are less enlightened, less, making decisions very ego based, very fear based, right? When I see some of the decisions being made about, oh, for God's sakes, yesterday, the transgender, we're going to take all the transgender women out of the women's prisons and put them in the male prisons. I mean, what kind of unenlightened decision making process is happening there? And so I see 10 years from now the ability to transform that by being the role model of peace that I would like to see in the world.
Well, I'll certainly hold that vision. Not a
Good,
problem for me.
good.
Oh, thank you so much for agreeing to
Um,
come and visit with us today. Want to tell everybody to be sure and check it out, because we have the link on the website so that you can see it again. And for heaven's sake, be sure you get a copy of Turning Adversity into Purpose.
it's on
And
Audible too.
oh, good. I forgot
I-
to ask that question. I
yeah,
should.
it's new. That's this year. It just came.
Yeah,
Yeah. Mhm.
excellent, excellent, excellent. So, y'all come back next week and have a great week. Have a great weekend. And don't forget that I love you. Bye bye.
Amazing, amazing. You will do amazing things. Amazing, amazing. You will do amazing things. On behalf of everyone at New Thought Media Network, thank you for being a member of our virtual family. Your financial contributions help share the New Thought message with people from around the world. Please visit and contribute at www.ntmedia.org/donate. New Thought Media Network. Come be you. And please like, share, and subscribe. Until next time.